God will hear the words of Rashekah, whom the king of Assyria, his master, has sent to reproach the living God. And I will reprove the words which the Lord thy God hath heard. Wherefore lift up thy prayer for the remnant that is left.
See, he said, look, it may be that the Lord will hear the words of Rashekah, which was the king of Assyria's general, so to speak. Because he had been over there talking a lot of stuff. But now, let's see what happened. Verse 33. Skip down to verse 33. Let's see if the Lord answered this prayer that Hezekiah and all the elders was praying to the Lord. Even Isaiah. Go ahead, 33.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria. He shall not come up into this city.
See, because he was boasting big time, like, I'll be in there and I'm going to do you like I've been doing everybody else, Hezekiah. See, but now this is in the Bible. That's why I tell people all the time, you know, they look at the Bible as a religious book. The Bible is a religious book. It's a history book as well. It's giving you history that's been proven in other history books. Because other history books, they might mention the Bible, but the majority, if it's good history, the majority of their sources is coming from somewhere else. They didn't just come copy this out the Bible. No, they got other documentation stuff they done found that they getting this evidence from. That's why some of they might say it a little different. It might be a little, you know, the story might go a little different, but the bottom line, if they telling the story and the Bible telling the story, that's one thing we know, the story must have happened. You know, maybe it's some disagreement on exactly how it happened, but that lets you know that what they're talking about happened. But go ahead.
Therefore, thus saith the Lord concerning the king of Assyria. He shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shields, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return, and shall not come into this city, saith the Lord.
See, now he was right there about ready to take over the city. But the Lord said, look, don't worry, Hezekiah. That's why Hezekiah went to praying quick, because he knew the man was on the brink of taking over. But the Lord gave him a reply. He said he's not going to come in this city. He ain't going to even shoot an arrow in this city, which really you have to have some faith to believe that, because the man had him surrounded. Then all of a sudden he heard about a report and had to leave. And even when he left, they was letting him know, look, we don't think we ain't coming back. We going to be back. They still talking stuff. Hezekiah was like, Lord, you hear him. See, that shows you all you got to do is trust in the Lord. But go ahead.
For I will defend this city to save it for mine own sake, and for my servant David's sake.
Go ahead.
Then the angel of the Lord went forth and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses.
Boy, that's pretty rough, ain't it? Now, the Bible say, after all this was going on, this guy talking stuff about taking over Jerusalem, Hezekiah sought the Lord. It said, then the angel of the Lord went forth and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185. That's 185,000. 185. 4 is 80. 185,000 men killed him. That means he had a big army out there, didn't he? And it said, when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. They was dead. Overnight it happened. They was just dead. Hezekiah didn't go out there and kill none of them or nothing. The Lord said, you ain't Hezekiah, you ain't even got to worry about it. I got this. That shows you how much power the Lord got. One angel did this. And you're going to try to kick against the Lord. Go ahead, 37.
So Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh.
See, now, obviously he was devastated. He was the king. Sennacherib was the king. So after that happened, hey, he went on about his business. But he was done too. Go ahead.
And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that Adramelech and Shadrezer, his son, smote him with the sword. And they escaped into the land of Armenia. And Esarhaddon, his son, reigned in his stead.
See, then he ended up getting killed by his own son. So the Lord took care of that, right? Now, that's the Bible point of view. But now we're going to look at something else. We're going to look at it from a historical point of view, just to show you this is backing the Bible up, even though they might say it happened a little different. So we're going to look at the last 2 million years. I don't think we was able to make copies of that. That was one of the problems we had. But if you want to read it after this lesson, it's up here in this book. Just don't take my book. The last 2 million years, and it's on page, according to the lesson, it's on page 56. So you can write that down. What we read, you're going to read the same thing if you read it in the book. As last 2 million years, page 56, we're going to read under winged bulls of Nineveh, because that's who he was, the king of Nineveh. And this is documented history that they got, not relying on the Bible totally. They saw it, they know it's in the Bible, but they got other proof, because he did a whole lot of other stuff besides that. But now, matter of fact, back up to start at where it says the aggressive military, this aggressive military. Right up here, this aggressive military. Go ahead. We're going to breathe a little higher than winged bulls of Nineveh, just to show you they got all kind of documentation on the Assyrians, how great military expansions they was doing that's not even recorded in the Bible. But go ahead.
This aggressive military genius reorganized his country's army and opened a new age of Assyrian greatness.
See, this was one of the kings, actually, before the one we just read about in Isaiah. This was the king before him. I can't even pronounce his name. Ushur-nap-pa-pa or something, the second. But he had some genius military strength. Go ahead, what else?
Based on his capital of Calah, the modern of Nimrod, on the Tigris. His son Shalmaneser III continued his expansionist policy, conquering city after city. The little kingdoms of Palestine and Syria allied against him, but still had to pay him tribute.
Go ahead.
Winged bulls of Nineveh.
Okay, go ahead.
The conquests of the Assyrians, so hated by the Old Testament chroniclers, were as violent and brutal as they were numerous.
See, now, it mentioned that these conquests that this guy was doing that they talking about was hated by the Old Testament chronicles. Of course it was, because they started doing damage to God's people. But go ahead.
The Assyrians used powerful siege engines and battering rams against enemy cities, which broke the peace treaties they had signed.
See, now this is not even in the Bible, really. He said the Assyrians used what? Powerful siege engines and battering rams against the enemy cities, which broke the peace treaties that they had signed. Go ahead.
One of their rulers, who took the name of Sargon II, built his mighty capital at Khorshabad, where he adorned his palace walls with vigorous sculptures depicting the defeat of his foes and the sack of their town.
That's Sargon II. Now we finally getting down to the one we were just reading about. But all this is documented history. Go ahead.
Sargon's son Sennacherib.
Sargon's son Sennacherib, the one we just read about in the Bible, they talking about him in history now. Go ahead.
705 to 681 BC.
See, they knew when he reigned from 705 to 681 BC, which we don't even get that out the Bible. Where they get that from? Because they got other sources. Go ahead.
Moved his capital to Nineveh.
To Nineveh. He moved his capital to Nineveh from the previous capital. Go ahead.
Where some of the finest Assyrian sculptures have been found.
Oh, see, this is some of the stuff they found. They say he moved his capital to Nineveh, where they found some of the finest Assyrian sculptures. Go ahead.
They include winged bulls and carved reliefs of battle, showing how the Assyrians flayed the elders of rebel cities and hung their skins on the wall.
Boy, they were some treacherous people, wasn't they?
Whoa.
They found stuff like this. They say they include winged bulls and carved relics of battle, showing how the Assyrians flayed the elders of rebel cities and hung their skin on the wall. They was taking the skin off of you. See, they did stuff like that to scare the heck out of you. Where the next town to say, we give. We heard what y'all did to them people. But see, Hezekiah, when his time came, he didn't give, did he? But he wasn't stupid to go out there and try to fight him either. He just prayed to the Lord. And we saw what happened. The Lord said, don't worry about it. And an angel went out there and killed what? 185,000. That's what the Bible said, right? Let's see if history know about that. Go ahead.
Sennacherib sacked and burned Babylon in his own words.
See, they found these words in his palace. He sacked and burned Babylon first. Go ahead. In his own words, what?
The city and its houses, from its foundation to its top, I destroyed. I devastated. I burnt with fire.
You see, he was puffed up.